I felt comfortable making the recommendation to you because they were funded with the HRSA grant. They were funded they were funded last year, and so I felt, and given the network of support they put in place since their executive director was let go about 2 months ago, I felt very comfortable making the recommendation to you all to continue to support them. Again, their contract specifically has language in it today that will expire that they have to provide MAT treatment. Now, do they on a regular basis? No, but if they were asked to, they would have to by the contract, or they would have, or the funding would be pulled back. So there's already language in their contract with us that specifically says that if somebody wants to go there and be part of that recovery support housing and get medicated assisted treatment, they would have to provide that because it's in our contract. So that's all. That's really all I can say. I mean, I don't. So.
Well, I guess.
Point of order, what was the vote again? 4-3 to pull it? 4-3. Okay, there we go.
My question, and I don't know, since Jenny's not here, I don't know how to do that. I did not realize that it would be a whole nother month. Now, if it was gonna be a week or so after we met, then I would be okay with that, but being a whole month,
I can call Jenny. She's available by phone.
I know if the winning or the majority, one of those people would have to reverse.
Correct. They would have, whoever's in the majority vote would have to ask for a vote to reconsider. Yes. You'd have to be in one of the three people who voted not to take it off the agenda wouldn't be able to make that motion to reconsider, but one of the four who did vote in favor of it could make a motion to reconsider. That's correct.
Even the chair?
The chair is, you know, you're not like the mayor of a municipality that doesn't participate. You can participate just like any other board member on the board. My
Okay.
understanding, and I don't mind calling Jenny. She's available.
I think Patty asked the question if perhaps the health board can have a special called meeting.
I think Bill
Over
asked the
this.
question, but
Or Bill asked the question. Now, the
I
health
don't know
board
if they
could-
can or not. That's the health, that's their call.
If it's gonna be another month, I didn't realize it was gonna be another month. If it was a week, yeah, I can understand it, but if it's gonna be a whole month, and they've already went through the process, the health department previously has done it, we funded it twice, then I would like to reconsider.
Well, just want to let you know, the health department did not approve this. And even the people that work in the health department, it's not recommendation.
The staff
is not.
have concerns. I will say
The
that
staff in the health department have concerns over this.
because they don't,
various reasons.
because
So
of the
that's why-
MAT, because of the MAT reason, correct?
And some others, there's some other things.
Oh, I'm not aware of those.
MAT meaning medication assisted
Medicated
treatment,
assisted treatment. That's correct.
which means you treat the opioid addiction with more opioids, medicine.
It's a different type of opioid,
Right.
but yes. That's the standard that the Attorney General has said that is the best practice. Again, but our contract specifically, the current contract specifically states that they have to provide MAT treatment in the recovery housing. And if they don't, and then if somebody questioned that, we as a county would have to take action against Gateway to say, you either have to do this or we'd have to consider pulling the funding.
Right.
So,
All right, motion stands 4-3 to pull it. All right, sorry about that, folks. First item is public comment. I do not have anyone that's signed up for public comment. Are there anyone here that would like to speak during the public comment? All right, thank you very much. We'll go to item number 2, Childhood Cancer Awareness Month proclamation, and our presenter is Ms. Jennifer Thompson. Ms. Thompson.
Excuse me, got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
The screen's not showing what the screen's doing out there. Are y'all's computer screens?
I don't think they have a PowerPoint. You don't have a PowerPoint
No, sir.
presentation, so I'll see if we can get it fit.
Hi,
Ms. Thompson,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay. Thank you for having us tonight. Trying to figure out where he is. Okay. So on behalf of my husband, Eric, and our oldest son, Blake, my parents are here, Robert and Sharon Sanders. I sincerely want to thank you guys, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to not only briefly tell you a little bit about the sweetest child we've ever known, but to present my request for the recognition of September being Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. I'm Jennifer Thompson, but I'm Jace's mommy also. Jace Kinley Thompson was a typical active little boy who loved life, loved his family, and forgive me if I tear up, loved his pancakes, the beach, the woods, and anything equipped with wheels. Jace's smile was captivating, and he never met a stranger. On October 23rd, 2017, our lives changed forever as our precious 4-year-old son, Jace Kinley Thompson, was diagnosed with an aggressive brain tumor, diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma, and I'm sure you've never heard of it, as we neither had heard of it, DIPG. Our family was devastated as we were told Jace's diagnosis was terminal. That was not acceptable to my husband and me. And we were told about clinical trials as being an option of hope, so that is the path that we chose. There are few, very few DIPG clinical trials in the country. Jace was accepted into the trial in Washington, D.C. at Children's National Hospital, where they tried so very hard to save his life. 347 days after we heard the most devastating news that our son was dying, Jace left us on October 5th of 2018. He was 5 years old. He never got to start kindergarten. He never played spring baseball that he was so looking forward to, and he never learned how to ride a bike without training wheels. After Jace left, our family knew his story wasn't going to end on that evening, and we were determined to make a difference in the childhood cancer world, and Jace would give us the determination and motivation to continue his fight. Jace's courageous 347-day Can't Stop Me will is why we created the Warrior Jace Thompson Foundation, to raise awareness for childhood cancer, a subject so many won't and don't want to talk about because it is so painful. And as painful as each day is, without Jace here with us, we will forever talk about the importance of childhood cancer awareness, because without awareness, there is no funding. Just to kind of give you a few statistics here, as of 2018, you may have this in front of you, for over 4,300 children and teens under the age of 20 were diagnosed with central nervous system tumors, accounting for 25% of all cancer diagnosis in the ages of 0 to 19. The National Cancer Institute spends an average of 4.08% in research funding for all childhood cancer. That is not a whole lot of money spent towards childhood cancer research. And then when you funnel it down from there, DIPG gets very little. Increased funding is so critical to advanced research. Hundreds of nonprofit foundations and organizations at the local and national level, including the Warrior Jace Thompson Foundation, help raise funds to support childhood cancer research. And the Warrior Jace Thompson Foundation proudly has donated over $200,000 for DIPG research since losing Jace. So I'm here requesting the board's adoption of the proclamation to recognize September as to recognize September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Oh, sorry.
All right, what's the pleasure of the
Mr.
board?
Chairman, I would make a motion that this proclamation of Jace awareness for the month of September, and also would like to comment that I know you're having a run, I believe it's a
Yes, sir.
run out at the
Yes, sir.
Stanley
It's
County Airport.
the 5K on the runway,
Yeah.
September 9th at the Stanley County Airport. So it's a 5K run and a 1K walk. So everybody walks pretty much. We can walk or run, and strollers, and everybody is invited to come, and it's a fundraiser for us. And we're excited to partner with the Stanley County Airport and allowing us to host that there. So we're excited.
Mr.
Thank
Chairman,
you.
Be honored to second that. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank y'all very much.
Thank y'all so much.
Motion carries. All right, next item on the agenda is Voluntary Ag District Advisory Board appointments, and our presenter is Mr. Chester Louder, Chair of the GAD Advisory Board. Mr. Louder.
Good evening, Commissioners. I want to thank you for this opportunity to bring two individuals that the Volunteer Ag District Board has surfaced to fill some vacancies that we have there and help us in the work with the Volunteer Ag Districts. The board met in April of this year and unanimously agreed to support the applications of Leon Honeycutt and Lori Ivy to serve on the Volunteer Ag District Board. And both applicants are in compliance with all of the requirements necessary to serve on that board and the ordinance. We
Okay,
formally request those be appointed.
Thank you, Mr. Louder. All right, what's the pleasure of the board? Let me back up. Any questions for Mr. Louder?
Good evening.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that these two citizens be appointed to the board that Mr. Louder has mentioned.
All right, I have a motion for Lori Ivy and Mr. Leon Honeycutt. I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Thank you,
carries.
Commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Louder.
You're all right.
All right, next item is Airport Authority appointments, and our presenter is Mr. Andy Lucas, County Manager. Mr. Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Per North Carolina Session Law 2023-28, the Airport Authority was expanded to 7 members. 5 members will be at-large members from the community, and 2 members will be county commissioners. The board will need to take action on an additional member of the Board of Commissioners to be a member of the Airport Authority, as well as to appoint an at-large member to the board for a term expiring on March 31st, 2027. There are several applications in your packet for consideration, and obviously you would decide among yourselves which additional member would be. Commissioner Hatley is currently the alternate of the Airport Authority, but you would have to formally appoint him or any other member to be in that other commissioner seat and through until your next reorganization meeting in December of 2023, excuse me.
So we're making the alternate position a full voting position.
Well, it's your decision on who your commissioner is. I mean,
Right.
obviously he
But I'm
is.
saying we're not doing an alternate also. We're
No,
just-
there's no alternate, per the general the session law.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll also appoint an at-large member from the community.
All right, we'll do the commissioner side first.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion that Commissioner Trent Hatley be put on the airport board as a voting member.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Shudo. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Hatley. All right. Next item is another board member.
Yeah, you have an at-large member you need to
At-large.
appoint, and there's applications in your packet for that one at-large member. And that term will expire on March 31st, 2027.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Art Whitaker to that seat.
Okay, any others?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Steve Bradley.
I'm sorry, was that you? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jimmy Fowles.
That's all the applicants we had, right? Okay, all right, yes, I see. All right, anyone else? All right. We will start, at the top. All in favor of Mr. Whitaker? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All those in favor of Mr. Bradley? 1. All those in favor of Mr. Faust? 3, 3. All right, now we vote again. Is that correct?
Yeah, and every member would get one vote for one of those two.
Right. All right, since it was a 3-3, each member gets one vote. All right, we'll start again at the top. All those in favor of Mr. Whitaker? 1, 2, 3, 4. And Mr. Faust? 1, 2, 3. Congratulations, Mr. Whitaker.
Just want to say, we've had good quality people applying for these boards, and unfortunately, sometimes there's only one slot to fill.
Yeah, we need citizens to fill out those applications to serve on those boards. All right, next item is item number 5, the Stanley County Comprehensive Sewer Master Plan Capital Ordinance and Budget Amendment, and our presenter is Mr. Dwayne Wingo. Mr. Wingo.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Stanley County Utilities has received an AIA NCDEQ grant for the Comprehensive Countywide Sewer Master Plan. The approved grant amounts to about $150,000, or it amounts to $150,000. Chambers Engineering has been selected to provide engineering evaluation and planning of the documents for the project, with the total engineering evaluation cost aligning with the grant amount. The purpose of the grant is to fund the completion of a 5-year, 10-year, 20-year countywide sewer master plan. This plan will utilize the Stanley County Comprehensive Land Use Plan to determine sewer service areas designated for growth and future development. The current adopted 2022 sewer master plan primarily focused on the 2.5 MGD expansion of the West Stanley Wastewater Treatment Plant and sewer to the Red Cross area. The countywide sewer capital plan will encompass all areas projected to be served by Stanley County Sewer and extending the planning horizon to 20 years. The plan could potentially involve changes to the existing 5-year sewer capital plan based on the county's land use plan. Chambers Engineering has submitted an engineering services agreement for this work, which will be reviewed by the county attorney and executed by the county manager upon board approval of the attached Capital Project Ordinance 656 and Budget Amendment 2024-08. These steps will establish a funding mechanism whereby expenses will be reimbursed by NCDEQ. Staff is recommending approval of the Capital Project Ordinance 656 and approval of Budget Amendment 2024-08.
Thanks, sir. Any questions for Mr. Wingo?
There is no local tax dollars involved in this, is that correct?
That's a 100% grant of $150,000.
Any more questions? All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the capital project ordinance 656 and approval of budget amendment 2024-08.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Crump. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is McCoy Pump Station bar screen replacement.
Thank you.
Mr. Wingo.
The McCoy Sewer Pump Station mechanical bar screen has failed to operate. This is a critical piece of equipment that, when in not operation, poses a significant risk to our sewer system's performance and functionality. The bar screen was originally installed in 1992 and has undergone multiple rebuilds, and unfortunately, we have been informed by the manufacturer that they will no longer provide parts for this aging system. Consequently, it has reached the end of its useful life, leaving us with no alternative but to seek a prompt replacement. The mechanical bar screen plays a vital role in the safeguarding of our sanitary sewer flow stream by removing solid debris. Failure to address this issue will urgently lead to severe damage to the McCoy Creek pump station pumps and the controls, as well as negatively impacting the treatment performance at the West Stanley Wastewater Treatment Plant. We have sought professional assistance from Charles R. Underwood Incorporated, who have provided a quote for a modern bar screen assembly and installation. This is an American manufactured piece of equipment which will provide reliable performance and also grant us easy access to necessary parts through their manufacturer's representative. As an aside, the old bar screen came out of Germany. It was about 30-something years ago. We've had issues in the past where we've had to wait months and months and months for a part. Anything overseas, for some reason, there's a lot of difficulty getting parts. So we wanted to make sure whatever we got, it was American made, and we had parts readily available on the shelf, which we've confirmed. To proceed with the replacement, we have attached Budget Amendment 2024-10 to transfer $156,000 of retained earnings from the 631 retained earnings account to the 631 7120 355 account for sewer repairs. Some additional funds will be needed because of there's a canopy down there where around the pump station where the existing bar screen exists. It's very old, it's rusted. We do need to remove some of that canopy because the new system has a higher elevation with a screw auger in it, and we're going to use our crews to do that work to try to save a little bit of money. We also may try to save a little bit of money on this as far as the demolition of the existing one as well, but we'll negotiate that once we can get the funds available to enter into a contract. Given the urgency of this matter and the potential impacts on our sewer system's treatment and protection of the sewer pumps, we would appreciate your prompt consideration and approval of the proposed budget amendment. Staff is recommending approval of Budget Amendment 2024-10 for the replacement of the McCoy Pump Station mechanical bar screen.
Thanks, sir. Any questions for Mr. Wingo?
Yes, sir. That's about $1,637 over the money coming out of 631 fund. Is that correct?
I'm sorry.
I think it's $1,631 over what the 631 fund's going to be.
I'm not
Isn't that what I've seen?
The budget amendment proposes to transfer $156,000 in retained earnings from basically the savings of the 631 fund.
631 fund is the fund where all the accounts from sewer
West
usage and
Stanley.
stuff.
For West Stanley, there was plenty of money in retained earnings and then some
And you
for
said
this.
there was going to be some extra.
We needed a little extra to use our crew, because we're gonna have to rebuild the canopy, but we're gonna use our crews to do that work. We're not gonna allow a
There
contractor
will
to
be
do it.
local funds there too.
Yeah,
That retained earnings, that's the difference between the 156 that we're asking to move in the budget amendment versus the 151.
yeah, roughly about $4,500 to get the canopy
That's for
fixed.
The additional funds for the canopy.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? Pleasure to the board.
I move approval of the Budget Amendment 2024-10 for the replacement of the McCoy Pump Station mechanical bar screen.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner King. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
sir. Dwayne, I do have one question, sir. Is the Newsom Road pump station, is it online yet?
It should be. We tried to do a startup on that booster station. Apparently there was a pop-off valve that's not working. We're having to get another one. It was out of spec from what was supposed to be because of a vendor changeover. We're hoping to get it started this week or next. We're under a time crunch, and we've communicated that repeatedly to the contractor, but we're very, very, very close.
All right. Thank you, sir. Next item is tax collector's annual settlement for fiscal year 2022-23, and our presenter is Mr. Clinton Swearingen. Mr. Swearingen, again, thank you so much for the postcard that I got in the mail the other week. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, thank you, Chairman Eford and Commissioners. I'm glad to be here tonight with you to give the annual settlement for fiscal year 22-23. Pursuant to GS 105-373, the tax collector must present an annual settlement report to the governing board. In your packet tonight, you have several financial reports that provide an overview of the collection activity for fiscal year 22-23. The real and personal property collection rate excluding registered motor vehicles was 98.15% this year, and that represents an increase in the overall rate from last year, 21-22, which was 98.02. The good news about that is last year, 98.02, I was here telling you that was a record high. So I can stand here again tonight and tell you that we're at a new record high now at 98.15, which is outstanding. The statutory remedies of garnishment, attachment, debt set off, cheat, and foreclosure have all been utilized to our fullest extent to collect these taxes. And I'll go through the reports with you fairly quickly. The first report is the analysis of the countywide levy, and that pretty much sums everything up down to the 98.15%. The second report is what we call the annual audit report, and this is a report that we fill out monthly. That we send Andy a copy and finance gets a copy, so we keep up with our collection rate and what's uncollected and what's been collected each month. And you'll see that report at the bottom also shows 98.15. The third report is an Excel spreadsheet. So not only were we busy collecting the 2022 taxes last year, but going after taxes that were 10 years old in the past also. And you can see that collection activity there listed for all the previous years that we were collecting on. You'll notice the 2012-2013 year, the uncollected amount there at the bottom, $76,219.99. That's the amount that will roll off September 1st, because after that point we can't enforce collect anymore due to the statute of limitations. So I know that seems like a lot of money, but when you start talking about a $36 or $37 million levy, that means that we pretty much got all of it, but maybe 0.02%. So we do our best to collect every dollar that we can. The fourth report is a summary of 3 different reports that we run, and you can see the total uncollected matches on all 3 of those. The total this year was $645,073.34. That's what was uncollected June 30th on 2022 taxes. Now, that amount, we still, for the next 10 years, will try to recoup that $645,000 between now and 10 years from now. To give you some perspective, for 2021, that number was $635,000, and for 2020, it was $672,000. So a lot of people may look at that and say, well, it went up $10,000 from last year. Yeah, it did, but the levy went up $3 million also. So, you know, I'm very happy with where we're at. The fifth packet is the affidavit from me saying I've basically done everything in my power. And the last is the order directing me to collect the 23-24. So like Chairman Eford said, everybody got their tax bills last week, and I'm here talking about 22, but we've already moved into 23 collecting at this point. So I would request that the board, number 1, accept and approve this annual settlement report for fiscal year 22-23, and then also charge me with collecting the 23-24 taxes.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
Have we, on the past due taxes, have we foreclosed on any property?
So
This year?
for 22-23, we foreclosed on 14 different properties, and we collected $213,378. And the good news about all that is we didn't take anybody's property. Everybody paid.
They paid before they got foreclosed?
That is correct.
Good deal.
Any more questions? All right, we have 2 items we need to take care of. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept these reports and give Clinton Swearingen the authorization to collect as many tax dollars as possible.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Vice Chairman Barbie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, sir. Next item is department head presentation again, Mr. Swain.
I'm not going anywhere. Andy asked me last week to come and give the tax office presentation, and I said, Andy, you did not do me any favors going after Sarah Hahn last week, or the last meeting, because I watch these meetings because I learn a lot about the other departments when I see what all they're talking about. And I don't remember which one of you said it, that Sarah had a great presentation, probably the best. And I thought, yeah, it was really good. So I don't know how I compete with kids learning to read and smiling and talking about taxes, but I'll try my best to give you a brief overview. And I do want to talk about property tax relief. So I thought, well, if somebody wants to hear about taxes, maybe they can learn about how to pay less. That might get people excited about taxes. So, but I was here last time in February of 2022. That was when I gave the department head presentation. But since that time, we have 3 new commissioners that were not here and didn't hear the presentation. So I will be as brief as I can, but at the same time, I'll give you a little information about the tax office. Property taxes are a very important source of revenue for the county. And here in Stanley County, property taxes make up almost 50% of our revenue. So if you think about property taxes and it disappearing, we would basically lose half of our services for the county if we had no property taxes. And I think people have a hard time thinking about that sometimes, but if you think half the law enforcement, half the ambulances, half the everything, you know, it would not operate like it does. So property taxes are very important. All the laws regarding property taxation in North Carolina can be found in the North Carolina Machinery Act. If you ever can't sleep at night, pick it up and start reading it and you'll go right to bed. It's a thick book about like that, but it details all the property tax laws in North Carolina. The tax administration office here in Stanley County can be split into 3 parts, and that's real property, personal property, and collections. Real property deals with real estate, homes, lands, outbuildings, pools, etc. Staff works closely with Mapping GIS office to monitor deeds and real estate sales to ensure we have current information and the correct owner. Staff in real property are also required to measure new construction and remodels to add to the tax base each year. And while they're doing all that, they're also constantly working on the revaluation that's going on. So our next revaluation will be in 2025 to adjust the values. As everybody knows, the housing market is ridiculous right now as far as how high everything is. And so we're way below that on our tax values now. If you go out on the street and ask anybody, would they take tax value for their house right now, they would most likely tell you no. And that's the whole purpose of revaluation, is getting values back where they should be in line with the market. So that next one will be in 2025, and you'll see a lot more of me in the latter part of next year when I'm here getting the schedule of values approved and everything for the revaluation. Personal property deals with registered motor vehicles, trailers, boats, business equipment, non-registered motor vehicles, or as we call them, untagged, and dog tags. So personal property staff are required and responsible for valuing registered motor vehicles each month when they come up for renewal, and we usually average between 4,000 and 5,000 each month that we deal with for that. Staff also values permanent tagged and multi-year tagged trailers each year, along with boats and motors. The question I always get asked about this is, what if people don't list their taxes? What if they don't tell us? Well, if you have a multi-year or a permanent tagged vehicle and you don't list with us in January like you're supposed to, we will search the NCDMV website through STARS and find your tag, and we'll list it for you. The bad thing about that is you get a 10% penalty on top of it because you didn't do what you were supposed to do, and that's what state law mandates that we do. You have a boat and a motor that you don't list with us, well, we're going to check NC Wildlife, and we're going to see if the boat's registered to you and who it's for. So people usually do what they're supposed to do, but if they don't, we have ways to cross-check and try to fix that and make sure they pay taxes on what they own. We issue about 6,000 dog tags each year, and the biggest thing I can stress about personal property is if you have personal property, it's your responsibility per law to list that with us each year in January 1st through the 31st. If you've listed something with us in the past, we're going to send you a listing form for you to fill out again the next year. But if you buy something brand new, the listing form's online. You can call our office. We'll mail you a copy. It's your responsibility to list that. Collections, that I just got done talking about with the annual report. That deals with the intake of taxes for the county. And now, not only do we collect the county taxes, but we also collect for all 10 municipalities in Stanley County, 13 fire districts, and one special district here in the city of Albemarle. That works really well. Taxpayers like that, mortgage companies like that, because it's a one-stop shop. They can pay it and be done. I know I live in city limits of Norwood, so I'd hate to know I had to pay my county taxes in one place and then go, pay my Norwood taxes in a different place. So it's nice we're all here together and we collect everything for everyone in Stanley County. Taxes are due each year on September 1st, and then they become delinquent on January the 6th of the next year. And on average, we collect about 92% of the taxes before they become delinquent. So I'd say 92% of people in Stanley County do what they're supposed to do. They pay their taxes on time and they're not delinquent. 8%, the last 8%, they need a little coaxing or some little extra nudging to get them to do what they need to do. And those things include garnishing someone's wages, attaching their bank account, foreclosure, as Bill alluded to, the escheat fund, and I said North Carolina state income tax. We can't get federal income tax, but we can't get state income tax returns. If they're getting a refund back, we step in and try to get that money. We try to work with all the individuals that we can who owe taxes and get them on some kind of payment plan. Take for granted if you owe $5,000, you can't give us $50 a month. That's not going to work. We've got to have a plan in place where you're catching up over time and you're going to catch up on your taxes completely. So the biggest thing from collections I can say to citizens is please don't ignore us. If we send you letters, if we send you things, we're trying to work with you. We're trying to find a solution to the problem. But if you ignore us and you act like we don't exist, then we're going to be forced to take negative action against you to collect the taxes that's due to the county and all the municipalities. Any questions before I go any further? All right, the last thing I want to talk about is property tax relief. All right, so property tax relief. Everybody always asks, my taxes are too high, or they call the office, and this is the direction we point them because this is the relief that's mandated by the state of North Carolina that they can receive if they're eligible. And my staff made this nice pamphlet, which I think pretty much explains everything about the program. To tell you the numbers before I go through this pamphlet, in 2022, we had $46 million of value exempted through these programs. And that was for elderly and disabled, and then the $8 million for disabled veterans. So about $54 million was exempted in 2022, and at the current tax rate of 61 cents, that's about $330,000 of revenue that was exempted due to these programs that if didn't exist, there'd have been that extra money in the coffers. But there's 3 programs that's available. It's called the elderly or disabled exclusion, the circuit breaker property tax deferment, and then the disabled veteran exclusion. So if you open up your pamphlet on the inside, the elderly or disabled exclusion is a program that excludes from property taxes the greater of $25,000 or 50% of the appraised value of a permanent residence owned and occupied by a qualifying owner. So the requirement is you must be at least 65 years of age with an income not exceeding $36,700. That's for 2024 applications. The 2023 application period ended on June 1st of this year, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but this is for next year. So when you filed your income tax return for 2023 and you're applying next year, if you make more than $36,700, you can't qualify, you're out. You also have to be a permanent resident of Stanley County, and you must live in the home. You can't have it as your second home, or you can't have it, it has to be the house that you live in. The $36,700 is all monies received from every source other than gifts or inheritances received from a spouse, a lineal ancestor, or lineal descendant. For married applicants residing with their spouses, the income of both spouses must be included, whether or not the property is in both names. Over the years of administering this, it seems that most married couples don't qualify because you're counting both incomes from them. It's usually a widow or a widower who's qualifying for this because they're down to one Social Security check, or they're down to a Social Security and a small pension. But usually if there's two people still alive living in the house, they don't qualify. And that number, 36.7, comes from the Secretary of Revenue, from the Department of Revenue for North Carolina. They adjust it based on, like, it got a big increase this year, but, I mean, Social Security payments went up pretty large also this year, so it's based off of that. Like I say, you must live there. You can have a temporary absence. So if you live in the home and you break your hip or your leg and you have to go to a nursing home, you can stay in the program and still get the relief. You just can't have anybody else living in the home unless it was a spouse that was, so you can't get hurt and go to the nursing home for 6 months and rent the property out to somebody else. At that point, you wouldn't qualify anymore. The applications have to be filed between January 1st and June 1st each year. And we run into it a lot this time of year. We just mailed the tax bills out. People will call our office and say, I want to get in the elderly exemption program. You can't. The deadline was June the 1st. And then they want to know why the deadline is June the 1st. Well, the deadline is June the 1st because I have to give tax-based numbers to Andy so he can form the budget and know what kind of money he's going to have for taxes. And if all these people can apply after I've gave him this information, then you're talking about potentially millions of dollars of value that could be given away that weren't accounted for before that. So that's why the General Assembly set this as June 1st, so it would give county managers, tax people time to, set the numbers in concrete for the budget. You can also qualify for this same program if you're disabled, but you have to be permanently disabled and signed off from your doctor saying that you're permanently disabled. Most people are receiving some form of disability check when they receive that, and you don't have to be 65 for that, but you do have to own the property and you do have to live there. The second one that's in the middle is the circuit breaker tax deferment. I'm not going to spend hardly any time on this because we have not one person in Stanley County in this program. And the reason is because it's a deferment. It's not an exemption. You are deferring your taxes. So you might not pay them, but your heirs or whoever's going to inherit your property, they're going to be on the hook for it. So these taxes don't go away in the deferment program, and you have to apply every year for it. In the elderly and disabled, you apply one time, and you stay in it until you pass or something changes where you're disqualified. And most people, if you qualify for the circuit breaker, you would qualify for the elderly disabled. So why would you want to defer taxes if you could exempt it? So there's not a lot of participation in this program statewide, so but it's there if people want to take that option. And then the last one is the disabled veteran exclusion, and it excludes the first $45,000 of the appraised value of a permanent residence owned and occupied by a North Carolina resident who is an honorably discharged disabled veteran or the unmarried surviving spouse of an honorably discharged disabled veteran. So if you qualify for this program, let's say your property is worth $100,000, we're going to exempt $45,000 of it. You'll only pay tax on $55,000 for that particular property. We get a lot of disabled veterans come to the office and want to apply for this, and they might be 70% disabled, 80% disabled, and we end up having to deny them because the law was very clear that you have to be 100% disabled, not 70, not 80, not 90. So the good news is they changed this about 1.5 years ago. They had to contact the Veteran Service Office and get all their paperwork filled out, and then they brought it to us. And it was a big hassle for these poor people to have to do all that. So they changed it to where now our local Veteran Service Officer, Bo Allman, he completes all their paperwork. He contacts the VA. He contacts everything. Once Bo is signed off saying they're 100%, he sends that paperwork with them to our office, and that makes it real easy for us to put them in the program, because that's what we want to do if they're a disabled veteran. So I'm glad they changed that, and you'll see at the bottom there, we've got Bo Allman's information at the Veteran Service Office so that they can get in touch with him as quickly as possible to get put into this program. There's been some rumors over the years about them changing that value from $45,000 to $100,000 at the General Assembly. They haven't done it yet. It's been on their docket for years, it seems like, and it never goes anywhere. So I don't know if they'll ever change that or not, but as of right now, it stands at 45%. So the biggest thing to remember about that is the application period for all three of these is from January 1st till June 1st. And I tell everybody they want to hurry up and get their income tax returns done and come up there January the 13th as quick as they can, and that's fine. We're happy to see you and help you, but you have all the way till June 1st, so you don't have to be in some massive rush to get up there to our office to qualify for this. So those are the 3 property tax relief programs that's available to people who qualify. I would like to thank my staff at the tax office. There's 15 of us, 5 in real property, 5 in personal property, 4 in collections, and myself. So I feel like we get a lot of work done and a lot of things accomplished with only 15 employees. And I'm very proud of all of them for the work that they do. And, you know, I wake up, I would say 95% of the time, and I look forward to coming to work. And I think my employees feel that way too. And that's a good thing. That's a great, especially when you're talking about taxes. So I would like to publicly thank them for their work because they do a great job. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Clinton. Any questions for Commissioner Reagan? Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Clinton, I don't know if that's the best presentation I've ever seen, but you in the top 20.
It was the best tax presentation.
Yes,
wasn't
sir.
it?
It was the
Okay.
best tax presentation.
Thank you, board.
I don't know. 20, okay. Thank you again, sir. I appreciate it. And again, thank your staff for all that they do. I know that's not a popular subject that you have to deal with, is collecting taxes, but we certainly appreciate it. All right, next item is the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion on the floor. Second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is board comments, announcements, and committee reports. Commissioner King, I'll start with you, sir.
I really appreciate everybody coming out tonight, and I enjoyed listening to everybody. And I want to thank Jennifer and Eric Thompson and their family for coming out. That was really important, and I'm glad we was able to pass that. That's pretty much all I have. Clinton, thank you for everything you guys do down there. I know it's a thankless job at times.
Thank you, Mr. King. Commissioner Shudo.
Yeah, just they have out at Jawari Pharmacy, out on 52, they have that JC soap that you get. You buy soap out there, and that goes to help with the foundation. And I was at the Albemarle track about 2 weeks ago, and I ran into Pate Butler from the DOT. And she said, you know, she out of the blue, somebody from the DOT, one of the people sent her a report on the all-way stops. And since they put in like the 348 all-way stops. And here, if you want to pass this down. Let me brief. I don't know if it's the region or the state or what the stats were from, but the results from 348 intersections that they switched to the all-way stops, there have been significant crash reductions. The total crashes per year, there's been a 55% reduction in crashes. Frontal impact crashes per year were a 65% reduction. And then the injury crashes significantly reduced with the all-way stops. The fatal and Class A injury crashes were reduced by 92%. The Class B and Class C injury crashes per year were reduced 72%. Before the all-way stops, there were 81 fatal crashes and 165 Class A injury crashes. After the all-way stops, there were no fatal crashes and 8 Class A injury crashes. And then the overwhelming effectiveness across the all-way stop sites, 84% of the intersections saw reductions in total crashes, 89% of intersections saw reductions in frontal impact crashes, and 90% of intersections saw reductions in the fatal and injury crashes. So, you know, they go by numbers, and that's the numbers.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Crump.
Yes, I'd like to, Clinton, I did enjoy that presentation. It was very informative, and I learned some things. Thank you for that. I also want to just draw your attention. I was at the health board meeting this past week. Peter and I both serve on that committee, and there is going to be this coming, well, it's Thursday, August the 31st, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Stanley YMCA Park. It's International Overdose Awareness Day Memorial Walk. So if you want to participate in that, Stanley County Project Lazarus and Stanley County Health Department are partnering for that to have that. So remember that, August 31st, 6:30 to 8. And I would say one more thing. I know Wednesday, some of you may be aware that we are having a public hearing to discuss the text amendment regarding the 5-acre lots for the RA district. If you can't be there at the 9 a.m. Public hearing, I've had a lot of questions about the time that we're going to be doing that. People have some questions about that. I know that Brandon's going to be having a town hall at 7 o'clock. Yeah, Millenport Fire Department, just to answer, not really to answer questions, but just to hear from the public. So I plan to be at that as well. Thank you. Tuesday nights. Yes, thank you, 7 p.m.
Thank you. Commissioner Hatley. Commissioner Lawhorn.
Talk a little bit about new home permits. I know with interest rates increasing to the point that they are now, I think they're close to 7%. New home permits I thought would slow down more than they have. But in the month of July, Stanley County issued 44 new home permits, which is an increase of 3 permits, or 7%, from the same period last year, July 2022. And so far, January through July, our new home permits, 390, which is a decrease of 51 permits, or 12%, over the same period last year. So new home construction is down about 12% year to date, which probably, I don't know how that compares with other counties, but we had a banner year last year with new homes. But it's not down as much as I thought it would be. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Vice Chairman Barbie.
I'm good tonight.
Thanks, sir. Couple things. My mother-in-law will be 89 tomorrow, right? She still push mows her yard, believe it or not, with a 22-inch push mower. I do it, and I'm just pouring sweat, and she just like there's nothing to it. But Mary Fur lives in Locust. Her birthday's tomorrow. She'll be 89. The only other thing I have is school starts Wednesday, and I know this is not being recorded, but please be careful out there. If you're driving, pack plenty of patience. School zones are going to be hectic. Let's make sure that the kids start off on the right foot Wednesday, and we want to keep our kids safe, and we certainly pray for our teachers and our students. Our next regular meeting is September the 5th, but we do have a special call meeting Wednesday, 9 a.m. here in this room, here in the Gene McIntyre room. With that being said, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn, Vice Chairman Barbie, second. Commissioner Crump, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Hey, Clinton. That was the best department head